Everybody.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the channel. My name is Gavin, and today is the episode that I've been waiting a long time to make, and I'm very, very excited for. There's a lot I've been doing. There's a lot I've been doing behind the scenes that I haven't really shown you guys that we'll get into in just a minute. And I also apologize for not having an episode last week. I was really, really sick and just could not film. Well, let me show you guys what I got here. So as you guys saw in the last episode, towards the very end, we got this subframe all painted, and I have to say, it looks awesome. All this little crap here is just leftover crap from when the welds were done. But look at how everything looks. There's not an ounce of rust left on this thing, and everything has really good coverage. This subframe is gonna be good to go for a long time. And now, on to the bushings. This is basically the whole reason why we're doing all this work and why we pulled all this stuff out of the car and have it laying all over the place. So let me dive into the nitty-gritty about these things. So I got these bushings from RevShift. There's a lot of reasons why I chose to use them. One of them is they're made in the USA. Two, I've gone with them before. And three, I know their customer service is awesome and they stand behind their products. Look at how awesome these bushings are. So first of all, everything's labeled to show that it's for an E36. And not only that, they're all labeled and stamped so that you know exactly where they go. It's probably gonna be pretty hard to see on the camera, but I don't know if you can tell, there's writing on all of these bushings. Like this one says rear top. Down here, it says rear bottom. And on these ones, it says front top. And then down here, it says front bottom. So you really can't mistake where these things go. These two right here are gonna be for the differential in the back. And this one is for the differential in the front. And it came with all new hardware, which is awesome. And each of the packets that these things come with also has instructions in them. And not only those reasons, but also I love this green, and I think it's gonna look awesome when it's put into this nice, new, refreshed black subframe. Anyways, I've been really impressed with the quality of these RevShift products, and I'm really impressed with how much detail and everything they come with. It's just gonna make the install and everything go really easy for you. So if you guys have been following along at all with this whole subframe rebuild, you know that in the first episode, what we did is take everything out, and I walked you guys through all that. In the second one, we basically restored everything. Like this subframe, we got all the bushings out, had it all painted, and then got this differential looking all pretty. Also, something else that I did that I didn't show you guys, it's got a new nice little bracket here that holds on the sensor for wheel speed. And then basically I have a bunch of other things here that we're gonna be putting on the car. For instance, these studs that hold on the subframe were all old and rusted. I just wanted to replace all this stuff and get everything nice and new while we're at it. And so now we're on to part 3, when all this stuff is gonna be going back in the car. What I'm not gonna do is go over every single little step of what you have to do to put everything back, because it's basically the reverse of what we did in the first episode. The only detail that I wanna mention is make sure that you have the upper control arms in before you put in the differential. Otherwise, you're not gonna be able to get those inner bolts in. But what we are gonna be showing you today is how we install all of these bushings and how they look when they're inside the subframe, because that is definitely one thing that we haven't covered in this little series yet. I definitely don't wanna scratch that brand new repainted subframe, so let's get all this stuff on a nice soft blanket. And then let's get throwing this stuff in. Now, one thing that I want to say before we get throwing these bushings in is I really hope that this series with the subframe rebuild has been helpful to you guys. My goal with this whole thing was to create basically 3 or 4 episodes that go through all the details that you're gonna need so that you can do this install and rebuild yourself, and also so that you will know everything to expect and the difference it's gonna make once all this stuff is in. That way you can make the decision if it's gonna be worth it for you, if you wanna do it yourself, if you wanna have a shop do it, and what you can expect the changes to be once everything is done. So most of these bushings are pushed together already, like the way they'll sit once they're in the subframe, but we need to separate them. Ones for the differential already come apart pretty easily, as you can tell right here. But the ones that are for the subframe are gonna take a little bit of work. So let's get these things separated, and I'm gonna show you the easiest way that I found to get that done. Just basically start with the side that's concaved instead of the flat side, put this side down, then grab yourself a hammer and an extension, place the extension around the metal right there, and start tapping it out. See what I mean? There we go. There's 1 out of 3. Basically, you just need to get these things separated so that you can put it on either side of the subframe, like we'll show you later. So 1 down, 3 more to go. If you're having trouble twisting the rest of it out and you can't really pull it since it's cold out here, the tolerances are tight, you could always take it and set it between something with a gap and then tap this out the rest of the way that way so it has a space to fall through. There's the first front. And there's the last one. I'll go ahead and throw these diff bushings out here too, just so everything's all nice together. Jeez, we're in here working on the car, and the weather has definitely taken a bit of a turn here. It's pretty cold, but at least we're in here and we got a nice space to work in that's dry. So, at this point, I think it's about time that, since everything's all apart and ready to go, we finally start putting this crap, well not crap, these awesome products into the subframe here and into the differential here. I think what we'll do is go ahead and start with the subframe, and then we'll move on to the differential. So, when you buy these parts, this is all what came in one bag, and this came in another bag. So, the bag for the subframe bushings has 2 packets of grease, and the one for the differential has 1. It may not seem like that much, but it's definitely enough. When you're putting the grease into the bushings, all you really need to do is put it into the bore of the bushings themselves, and then along the outsides of the bushings. So that'll be the same for all these. And then for these here, we're not gonna take this metal out, so we don't really need to put any in there. It'll just go along the outside of the bore here. And then as far as where you wanna put the grease on these, put it all along the inside of where you mount the bushings in both the differential and the subframe. What this is gonna do is just help to ensure the longevity of the bushings, and also make sure that they're not gonna creak or make any noise once they're in the car. And it's also gonna make it just that much more easy to push them into where they're mounted. Here we go. So we'll go ahead and start with this one. It says front top. So here's the front, and it goes on the top. If you see in these bushings, there's a little recess that starts right there and works all the way around to right there. That recess sits in this weld here. They've gone ahead and shaved out room so that it has room to sit flush against that weld, and it'll all fit okay. Let's get some grease going. We'll get it inside of the bore first. And then we'll get it all along the outside of the bushing itself. You really don't need to lather these up too heavy, and a little kind of goes a long way. So we'll line this thing up with the recesses there. That looks like it should do it. And after you grease them up, they actually kind of go in pretty easy. I just did all that by hand. In here, I'll show you guys a little closer. You can see just how that recess fits in the weld perfectly. And again, we'll grab the other one that's labeled front top, grease up the inside of the bore. This is also gonna make it easier to install these metal sleeves that go in. Now for the outside, line this sucker up just right and push her in. That's a little bit tighter. We might need a little help from a mallet. There we go. Sweet, so I'm gonna flip this thing around now, and we'll do the tops of the rears, which is obviously easy to find because again, they're labeled. Might need to tap this one again. There we go. Now for the last top bushing. Jeez, this stuff is really sticky. Let's get the inside of that. Now just for the outside of it. And then once we get this in, we can move on to the bottoms. That should do it. At this point, I think now we can go ahead and flip that thing over, and we'll move on to the bushings that go on the underside. I think we'll start out here by working on these 2 fronts. Yes. You know, putting in these polyurethane subframe bushings is way easier than if you were replacing them with OEM ones. Just another positive for going polyurethane, I guess. I mentioned that that was gonna be the last of the subframe bushings. There's still one more that goes in the subframe, but it's not really for the subframe, and it's that rear one for the differential. So let's knock that one out real quick. Now, just to round out the subframe and get this all buttoned up, we have to smash in all 4 of these little sleeves here inside of these. Luckily, they're all lubed up, so it should go in pretty easily. Okay, so right now it's starting to get dark. I really only have like 10 minutes or so left to light. So in the interest of time, let me show you guys what's up with these differential bushings. These come in half very easily. All you need to do here is just loop them up just like you did before along the outsides, and then of course along the inside of the bore here. And then as far as the orientation, just make sure that the bolt side goes in the back of the differential, just like this. And then you grab this side end and it goes in just like that. Now with all this stuff done, I know I didn't really tap these in all the way. I'm gonna have to struggle with those just a little bit and tap them a bit harder. But like I said, I'm running out of light, so I wanted to hurry. Let's just take a minute and appreciate how awesome this looks with the green and the black. I think that looks dope. But of course, that's not really the important part. The important part is gonna be how this thing performs. And in the next episode of this series with this whole subframe and differential rebuild, we're going to be taking this car for a rip. The next time that you see this car, it's going to be on the ground with all of this stuff inside of it. I'm definitely looking forward to getting everything back in the car and going for a drive. I'm really crossing my fingers that I'm going to feel a massive difference. You guys saw how bad my stock bushings are. If I just would have replaced them with another set of OEM ones, it would have been a big difference. But since I'm not only just replacing them with new ones, they're also polyurethane, I'm expecting a pretty big difference in how this thing will drive. Hopefully it will have gotten rid of a lot of the wheel hop issues that I was having, and hopefully it's just gonna make me feel that much more connected to the car and be able to feel the road that much better and really just stiffen up the chassis and make the car drive more like I want it to drive. Like a track weapon that drives on the street. And you better believe that once this car is all done and everything's back together, when I test it, I'm gonna be testing it hard. I'm gonna do burnouts, I'm gonna drift, I'm gonna do donuts, I'm gonna take corners as fast as I possibly can in the winter. And I'm gonna really try to do my best to get a perfect feel for how this thing's changed. With that said, guys, I have a lot of work to do finishing putting all this stuff back into the car. So I'm gonna get going on that. And if for some reason you're finding this episode is the first one that you've seen as far as rebuilding the subframe and these bushings go, there was a part 1 and a part 2, link is in the description. And stick around for the impressions that I have, because I'm gonna let you guys know if all this was worth it, how everything feels, how the MVH has changed, everything that goes along with that. You guys know I go in depth when I talk about the stuff that I've done. If you guys enjoyed today's episode, make sure to give it a big thumbs up, and if for some reason you're not subscribed to the channel, hit that subscribe button as well as the notification bell next to it so that you guys don't miss an episode, and I will see you in the next one. Da 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 da. Holy shit! 596, 583.